All right, we're live. Silver Doctors, Wednesday. I'm sorry, the sixth day of the month of November. I'm happy to be with you guys this afternoon. My name is Mike, the co-host, along with my better half over here, Mr. Half Dollar. Mr. Half Dollar, how you doing, my friend?
Doing good today, Mike. How you doing? It's getting a little bit chilly still,
Oh,
so apparently we're going to get this Arctic blast here in the northeastern United States.
yeah. I thought we were having some global warming or so. Now it's cooling now, so now it's gonna be cooling this winter, or what are you gonna
Yeah,
give us next?
global warming was last century. The 21st century is global cooling, so we got to change that script.
Oh man. All right. So as always, everybody, welcome to the live stream. If you have any thoughts, questions, or anything you want to chime in with, do so in the chat. Or there's a number, 567-336-0844. We'd love to hear your voice. And so let's check in with the chat and see who's tuning in thus far. We have Finance Freak. It says paper is a barbarous relic. We got Kelly says I hate these premiere things. Okay. We got Glenn. So he has a question or a thought. We'll touch that in a second. We got Susan, John Michael, Cube Void. We got Edmund. What else? Chris, Gary, John Michael. Okay, so very first highlighted it says Mike and Paul. How severe do you think the next economic downturn will be? Just another recession or worse than the Great Depression? Also, do you consider yourselves preppers? Thanks. Glenn, great question. Mr. Half Dollar, want to tip it off because we're going to talk about that today. So go ahead and get that
Yes,
started.
yes. Welcome everybody, and that is a good place to start. And I don't want to talk about too much just right now with that initial question because I do want to talk about this as like an actual topic today because I think it's important. But yeah, I see it much worse than the Great Depression because I think that the United States is on the road to the third world here. So it's going to get pretty nasty, and I do want to get into a deep discussion about that. As far as the prepping aspect, yes, right. That's how I learned about gold and silver, was just kind of like a natural progression, like from being a prepper, right? Because you can only have so many cans of beans, and you can only have so many bags of rice and stuff like that. And then you realize, well, what else could I put my money in? And then you just kind of naturally learn about gold and silver.
Yeah.
Because you go with like the survivalist mindset, right? And what do you have? You got like the most important thing is like air, right? And then after that, you're talking about water. Then you're talking about food. So like when you're setting up your priorities, once you get all those bases covered sufficiently where you're comfortable, yeah, people naturally move into gold and silver then.
Yeah, I do agree. And so also, as far as my particular thoughts on what's occurring now, I believe that the crack up slash meltdown of our global monetary system is underway. And so we're starting to see more and more tremors and more indicators from various sources around the world. So once you have the central bankers themselves starting to show signs of disagreement on policy implementation and how they're going to roll out whatever policies, that lets me know that they're definitely confused behind the scenes. And so, between what's happening with the Federal Reserve, the leading bank, or the ECB, and just hearing more about, just actually watched a little bit of a clip from the Deutsche Bank person referencing how the ECB passing on negative rates to them, unfortunately, is one thing that they could have never imagined that they're going to have to pass on now to depositors. So when you hear stuff like that, it lets me know it's going to be a lot worse than we could have ever imagined. Therefore, this next, as I mentioned, this next decade, 2020 to 2030, is going to be a very interesting experience for everybody. No one's immune for what's happening. So, yeah, but
Those are great points. And it's actually kind of a little bit about one of the things I said in my writing today, which will lead us into gold and silver. But, with like gold and silver, one of the reasons this price suppression goes on for so long is because the people enable it, right? Because, now I'm not making a judgment call saying trading's bad, but it's a rigged casino, and we know it's a rigged casino.
Yeah.
And trading in it is playing in the rigged casino, in my opinion.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but my point is, right, that people are always going to be doing that. So the way that I flip that is that, like, we talk about, can we get our debt under control in the United States? No, we can't, right? Because nobody is willing to give something up when it comes to the entitlements, right? The elderly and the sick aren't willing. The people that receive welfare and those other types of benefits aren't willing. The federal retirees aren't willing. The veterans aren't willing. So, it's just going to be this nasty fight for every last crumb. And so I do think that it's going to get bad, and particularly bad, especially when it reaches the shores here.
Yeah, I do agree with that one as well, Mr. Habdal. I agree with you too much. I gotta find more things that I gotta disagree with you on. Because anyway, but no, good points. And so as I thumb through the chat a little bit, I see some talk here about what looks like people might want to cover or touch on. And as I referenced before we went live about Deutsche Bank, and so a couple people commented on Deutsche Bank filing bankruptcy. And so as of now, if you Google bankruptcy for Deutsche Bank together, it's nothing official that has been announced, but as I've commented on before, bankruptcy is a part of the resolution plan for every globally systemic important bank. And so definitely, if they haven't filed just yet, it's in the works. They're trying to resolve things and minimize as much of the contagion event as they can before they file Chapter 11. But I'll actually, in a minute, I'll pull up some documentation here that shines a little bit more light on that. And so let me find it, and I'll show you exactly. Here we go. So here's a little documentation here that I covered not long ago, and so this is from FDIC.gov, and it's just about globally systemic important banks in general. And this is in reference to the U.S. operations of Deutsche Bank here, and so it's about 15 pages or so. And this was, as of last year, was the most updated version I could find. But as a part of the whole Dodd-Frank Act, every bank has to come up with a game plan as to how they're going to contain their, in the case of a crisis, how they can contain matters and not let it spill out like last time, so that they don't have to require a bailout from the governments, but they've written in the bail-in process. But if you just thumb through here, it goes a lot deeper. I'll put a link in the chat so you guys can take a look at it. But it just talks about how bankruptcy is a part of their equation as to how they're going to resolve things. So bankruptcy is nothing you should be surprised about, because it's already been told to us. Now it's a matter of who's going to take some of those losses during the bankruptcy process, and unfortunately it's going to be the shareholders. So but yet information is there in detail if you guys are interested in finding out more about it. So Mr. Habdal, any thoughts?
Yeah, and just whenever something like this happens, I would not be looking for it at Wednesday at 10 in the morning. I'd be looking for it more like, the day after Thanksgiving, or on a Friday when there's low volume and people have dipped out early, right? Because whenever there's something this impactful that's going to happen, it's not going to be when everybody's got their eyes on the markets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So these things are tightly scripted as far as if, when it's coming, when exactly is it going to come? And you can rest assured it'll be like one late afternoon, hopefully when nobody's looking, but we'll be on it.
And so to add a little bit more onto that, I think that it'll also come at a time where there'll be so much other things going on distraction wise, where the last thing people would do would probably go look and check their bank statement on their phone and see if everything is okay in that particular area. And so also, have you had a chance to, I think it was last week or two, I think it was Bank of America, if I'm not mistaken, that had about a 10-hour window where no one can access their accounts. And so whether you log on your phone, your computer, everything was like not accessible at that moment, and there's a lot of panic on social media. Did you hear about that one?
I kind of did slightly, but I don't know much more than what you're telling me now about it, though.
Yeah, but I got wind of it, and I saw the trending tweets of people saying, "What's going on here? Can anybody else log in?" And it was so much panic over not being able to log in, and I'm thinking like, man, that pales in comparison to what could possibly happen down the line. So hopefully that caused a couple people to do a little digging and come up with some truth for themselves. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and that's just having the access. Then it goes like one step further, like we've seen in Greece and stuff, where once things really start getting serious, then that's when they put the controls on like how much you can withdraw daily from an ATM and things like that. And these are not just things that we're trying to spread fear about. These are things that actually happen, right? These capital controls were in 2015 in Greece on the ATM. I think it was 60 euros was like the daily you were allowed to withdraw. You couldn't withdraw any more than that.
And that issue there just recently it came to, I think, a resolution. I think they finally clamped or let go of some of those restrictions on people, and that was 3-4 years later. So literally this past couple months ago, I remember hearing about it and seeing some articles about how they just started to now give people full access type of thing. So several years, and so I'm assuming a lot of people were mad, but you didn't hear about it on the mainstream news. So that's one thing to consider. But I think we might have a call. Let me see if we can get somebody on here. and see what's going on. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mike and Paul. This is Jim. Give me a call from Brooklyn today.
How you doing, my friend? We got Jim from where one more time?
Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
All right, Sarasota sounds like. So, what's in your mind today, my friend?
Well, I've got a question that's perhaps just-handed over the first question that's there.
Hold on 1 second. Hold that thought. Hold that thought 1 second. Let me make sure my volume is up so we can hear you. I hear Mr. Paul, I see Mr. Paul struggling to hear you. So it should be a little louder. Go ahead.
Sure. I have a question that's just right in with the question that was asked. And it has to do with the gold and silver ratio arbitrage. In particular, many of the precious metal community feel that perhaps when the ratio drops down to say 30 to 1, that it's a good place to trade in silver for gold. However, there are also those in the precious metals community, and I would name Rob Kirby perhaps and Jim Sinclair, who feel that when the money drops out in our economy and people start heading out of the stock market into the precious metals, that it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to buy perhaps gold. And so my question is, number one, would you try to play that arbitrage, trading in silver for gold? And number two, do you think that it will be difficult, if not impossible, to be able to do that if people start hoarding up the gold when it comes time to trade for it?
Great question there, Mr. Havdata. I'm gonna let Mr. Havdata touch on that, and so I'm gonna hang up so you can hear him on the live stream portion.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks for calling in.
I didn't get a whole lot of that, Mike. I know he was asking questions about the gold to silver ratio, but as far as like the exact angle that he was taking on that, I'm not exactly sure what his points were. I just couldn't hear it very well. There was a little bit of static there.
Okay, so I'll give you a little sum it up for you. Basically, the whole arbitrage aspect of taking advantage of the gold silver ratio now, and he was saying that Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter commenting on in the future when gold prices go to astronomical prices. Will it still be something you think people will be willing to do as far as trying to sell that silver for gold if the ratio shrinks a little bit more? And so will gold be readily available, and will people want to participate in that type of trade?
Yes, I do. And gold will be readily available because remember, right, there's always people that are buying and selling gold, right? People are like, well, you guys are just gold pumpers. I mean, if gold's going up, why are you guys selling it? It's not like that at all, right? I mean, we talk about it as being money, and you have a need to save money, you have a need to earn money, to spend money. So there's various reasons. But yeah, definitely. Just in a natural progression, see, I am actually heavily into silver, and I am planning on taking advantage of that gold to silver ratio arbitrage because where it is right now, right? If you're saying 80 ounces of silver right now, if you're spending 1 ounce of gold to get 80 ounces of silver at the end of this cycle, right, which it's turning now, finally, at the end of this cycle, that means if it goes to 40, then you can get 2 ounces of gold in return for those 80 ounces of silver. So it's literally free money, right? And why people are not taking advantage of this right now, especially when the ratio is so extreme, and it's popped up a little bit on this recent weakness over the past 2 days. So I think it's like around 86 again. And it's friendly for stackers because the ratio is going up on price weakness, which means silver is on sale. I'm kind of rambling here a minute, but yeah, I'm definitely taking advantage of the gold to silver ratio arbitrage because in normal times, right? In normal times, you can do what I was saying, where at the end of that cycle, you can turn those ounces of silver into 3 ounces of gold. And that's not even considering a reset. Once there's a reset, then that just takes it to a whole different level in and of itself. But then we would also have to see like where the prices settle, right? Because, yes, the reset would be against gold, but how exactly does silver tie into that, right? In my opinion, it has to be like, for example, the dollar and the debt in the United States, all that stuff has to be reset, not just to gold, but also to silver, right? Because that's what the Constitution lays out. So Jim Sinclair and Rob Kirby and stuff, a lot of the stuff they talk about is like as it's going parabolic and the crisis towards the reset. But even without that, the gold to silver ratio arbitrage is still a great opportunity.
Yeah. And so one thing I want to throw out there just as a little bit of a disagreement. Let's see, not a disagreement, but I agree with you. But how about this? How about this scenario? Gold and silver, they are real money. Okay, so gold is more so what the banks are doing in the form of tonnage. People, stackers tend to do ounces, give or take whatever else you can probably get a hold of. But what's the likelihood, or what's the chance that silver becomes so strategically important that 40 or 80 ounces of silver has a much greater utility and use case and monetary property to where you like, hey, I might not necessarily want to go into gold. So even though I can get 2 ounces of gold, because say if gold is, just say some astronomical amount, equating all the currencies on this planet, say $100,000 initially. And so if you got 100,000 pieces, 100,000 units in that 1 ounce of gold there, the likelihood of you being able to move that as readily as you would probably move that 1 ounce, it would be, say, what's that? So about, say, about 10, 2,000, 5,000, whatever that might be, however it equates over. It'd be a lot more easier to move. So I think it has a lot to do with what's your strategy? And so do you want to sit heavy in gold knowing that you're not going to be able to move it as readily or as easily as silver? And so, of course, you probably want to exchange all your gold into silver, taking advantage of that. But I kind of got a feeling that silver might be a little bit more precious for the average person than gold. So unless you're sitting on a large hoard of silver the way you want to, because gold to me, it has a feeling of like, if I get it, I'm gonna just sit on it. I'm not gonna ever come out of that. I'm passing it on to my grandkids. I'll move this silver because it's, the ounces are smaller. It's, so so I'm thinking like, what would be, so of course it's whatever you can afford, but would you be willing to like go full steam ahead and really utilize this exchanging your silver for gold and then anticipating when it corrects again, getting back into silver, like going, or what?
Yeah. You bring up a great point and an interesting dilemma because, it makes me want to think, well, I better not turn in all of my silver for gold when I get to the end of this ratio, right? So, because, I ultimately think that we're going to parity in the ratio. And what you're leading on is that we could even overshoot parity if silver is, in fact, more strategic and more precious in that sense, which it very well may be, right? I just look at it because I'm biased in a sense that I'm looking at it as gold as sort of like the granddaddy and silver as the grandkid, and it's hard for me to go over that like hurdle.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree. So those are decisions that would have to be made down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good point there.
So Gunfan says, I don't think gold and silver will be readily available when all these contracts are called. And so, as far as I think, and so as you hinted at earlier, the metals will be available at some price, and so the quantity is what will be brought into question. How much is above ground? How much is actually in people's possessions? But there will be a price for everything. But then the question might be, is how do you price it? Because I wouldn't want to price it in Federal Reserve notes in the next decade for sure, more than likely, me personally. So how do you determine the price? In whatever currency might be issued at the time would be the question. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to take long to find out what the fair value is, right? Once this because I think the fiat currency crisis has begun. It's global. We see it in the periphery nations, right? Argentina, Chile, Turkey, African nations. We see unrest and riots all over the world as well, not just currency related, but social unrest too. So, my point there is, I can't remember where I was going with that point, but anyway, keep going ahead there.
Okay, that was a good one. Oh my goodness, I appreciate you there. Okay, keep moving. What else we got here? I see. Let me see. For silver is the ultimate stack silver and satoshis. Oh man, that's a good one.
How do you stack a satoshi?
Yeah, you got to do it in a cold wallet or something like that. Somewhere offline, I assume. We got a question for Glenn. It says, Mike and Paul, do you think that the economic crash will it affect the average person quickly within days, weeks, or will it be longer, slow, drawn out event? Thanks. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's going to be, I think it's going to be some shock and awe, and then it's going to be long and slow. And this is a good segue into that topic that I wanted to bring up because, people oftentimes, like one of the articles that people are reading on Silver Doctors today is just like called "What Will the Collapse Look Like" or something like that. And people are often wondering, like, well, give me some examples. What are we looking for? And I oftentimes, like, people think I'm exaggerating when I say there's going to be like fire and blood and stuff like that on the streets. But I mean, it's true. And we're starting to see it now. Did you hear about like the massacre in Mexico, like yesterday, where in Mexico, they were talking about 12 people, but here in the U.S., they're talking about 9 people. But like, apparently these Americans in this Mormon family were like murdered in Mexico. But this is the type of stuff that I see, right? The type of stuff that I see coming is stuff like kidnappings, right? Americans haven't had to deal with kidnappings in a long time, but in third world countries, kidnappings are a big thing, right? Yeah. And, people are going to have to prepare for this type of thing. People are going to have to prepare for, and because, they will kidnap and then hold for ransom, right? And then basically you got to pay up, and you can't really go to the cops because the cops are in on it too, right? Yeah. So you don't know exactly who you can trust in these scenarios. Another thing I see is like home defenses, right? Because like, if you look at like, how Mexico is and, anywhere else pretty much for that matter, right? It's all walled off, right? The houses are walled off. The windows are barred off, right? You've got metal, you've got steel. They put like glass shards at the top of the concrete walls around their house, so that people can't scale it. They put in like hardened types of defenses, right? Like you seen the screws that they use in doors here in the United States. I mean, they're tiny. You can kick in a door in the United States like it's nothing, right? And these are, and the houses are flimsy, right? I mean, there's no ballistic, material at all in a U.S. stick-built house. So these are all things that people are going to have to prepare for, right? Random acts of violence, kidnappings, and it's not just like super rich and super like important people, right? Because when you talk about this spreading in an economic collapse scenario, you're talking about like, what it is like in Mexico, what you see are like children of like doctors or children of like, they get those people, right? So they don't get the actual person who has the money. They get the person that, has a relationship with
their loved ones,
has the money.
Yeah, their loved ones.
So my point is, they're going to be, Americans are going to learn this the fast way, but also the hard way, because, when the riots, when the civil unrest comes to the streets, right, and when the neighborhoods start to turn a little bit bad, people are going to want to have a little bit of extra defenses. And you see that in urban cities in the U.S., right? You see the metal bars on the windows. But I think that's going to become more commonplace just throughout the United States in general. I'm kind of rambling again, and I'll let you add some thoughts there, Mike.
No, I agree with that one as well. And so one thing I've noticed, just a difference in culture slash... just how things how things operate in the developed world in comparison to second world, maybe third world countries. Because one thing I notice and I pay attention to very frequently, Central America and South America especially, every country in the urban areas, you mentioned those walls with glass spikes. They put glass at the top of brick walls. Every window's boarded up. They got wood doors with the big metal, steel beams going across them, and so I always wonder, like, man, like these people out here, because of the lifestyle, because crime and theft is prevalent there, because of that's just how people operate. That's a lot of people's profession, unfortunately. That that type of culture and thought here would just be unbelievable, because we're not conditioned to think like that or defend ourselves like that.
Think about the dog, right? Just the dog, because Americans are terrible at this, but it's a different type of thing. In the United States, Americans think about dog as like a family pet. And I think about a dog the same exact way, right? I mean, I really like having a dog in the family. But there's also a very specific purpose for a dog, right? And like in my instance, that purpose for that dog is acting as an alarm, right? An extra pair of eyes and an extra pair of ears. The same. So like when you go to other countries, that's like the very first thing they think about when they think about pets. They don't think about, well, it's, we love our dog and it's part of the family. No, the very first reason is for practical reasons, for utility reasons, right? Half the times they're, going to bite anyway, if they're those kind of dogs, right? But just in general, acting as an alarm system, that's important. So these are the types of changes that Americans are going to have to get used to, right? Like people can't come up to my dog because she barks at everybody and she doesn't trust anybody, right? And then Americans are very complacent like that. Americans will walk up and stick their hand out towards any dog, and that's going to end real soon, right? You don't do that in another country. You don't stick your hand out for a dog in another country because it'll bite, right?
Because that's true.
So it's just little things. things like that. And that glass at the top of the walls, yeah, what we're talking about are like broken bottles, shard glass that's embedded into the cement as it's drying as a deterrent for scaling somebody's wall. I mean, these are the types of things that when people say, what does a collapse look like? This is what it looks like, right? It's the descent into the third world where people are going to have to really start taking things like situational awareness seriously, right? And home defense seriously, and all of these types of things.
Yeah, good point. So we have a call. Let's see if we can get this caller on. So I cut my volume up. Caller, if you don't mind, make sure your volume is up as well. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
It's low blood pressure coming from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Low blood pressure. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this afternoon?
I'm doing good. I want to disagree with Paul, I'm
Okay.
sorry, but, I usually agree with him.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you what I think, okay? All right, here in Corpus Christi, we had Hurricane Harvey, right? And after the hurricane, there was some looters trying to loot, and as soon as they went into the homes, they got blasted, they got killed. So, I know how Mexico is because I lived close to the border before I moved here. And I've seen that glass, the Coca-Cola bottles with the glass, I've seen all that. Mm-hmm. But here, it's like everybody's armed. As soon as one person tries to go in a house or do something, that's it. That's the end of them. And that kind of deters people from doing those kind of things,
Yeah.
What does Paul think about that?
Mr. Paul, $50. So low blood pressure. I'm gonna hang up. Thanks for the question, and then listen to the response on air.
Okay, thanks. All right, have a good day.
Yep, have a good one. We got somebody that disagrees with you, but in a way that is real. So not much of a disagreement.
Those are great points, right?
Yeah.
And he makes awesome points. This is what we call the difference between a hard target and a soft target, right? Because yes, you don't know which house is armed, and generally speaking, it would be, in my opinion, most houses that are armed. I don't know the exact number of the percentage of Americans that have firearms, but I'm sure it's very high, and I'm sure it's well more than 50%. I mean, there's like enough firearms for everybody in the United States to have at least one, is what my understanding is. But, that brings up a good question, right? Because this is also a concept in the prepping community about, well, should I be a gray man or should I be like all tactical, as in tactical, right? With all this like military looking gear, looking like you're bad, right? Yeah. But, so here's the thing, right? Yes, on that one hand. But on the other hand, if you put those bars on the window and if you put those glass shards and if you have a dog that barks, guess what? You're a hard target. So what is the looter going to do? They're going to look for the hard target, or they're going to look for the soft target. Now, it's true, right? Because a hard target, whoa, what is he hiding? What has he got in there? He's probably got 10,000 ounces of silver in his house. I don't know. You can come try and get it. I mean, it fell out of the boat, when I was going down the river last week, and I'm still looking for it. Metal detectors don't work underwater. But my point is, yes, on the one hand, you don't know who is armed, but if you can make yourself a hard target where you wouldn't be looked at in a looter scenario, I think that's a better way to go.
Yeah.
And then again, not drawing attention to yourself with like the generators, right? Like that's another one, right? Like you don't want to be the only house in the street that's got a generator going when nobody else has power, right? You want to kind of be suffering a little bit, but only, outwardly facing.
Yeah, I just ordered a solar-powered generator that has the same capacities as a gas-powered one. And so I'm going to test it out and see how well it works. But other than that, I'm definitely looking forward to getting using solar, just because I thought about that as well. Like, you don't want to have, this loud noise coming from your backyard or from your garage or from wherever. And people are like, oh, he got gas and he got a generator. Let's go get it.
Yeah, he's probably got food in his fridge. He's keeping the freezer going.
Exactly. So I put up on a screen just so people can get an idea for those that haven't seen the walls, just different pictures. And they're called security walls. So as you can see, just you break some glass, you stick it in the cement, and it's one of the things where you can tell that somebody's trying to get over it because it'll be broken, and then you'll know to go back up there and wire it some other way to put some more back up there. So
these are like poor man's home defenses, right? These are like working man solutions, right? You don't need fancy razor wire. You don't need, all this stuff. You just put some shard glass up there, and that's good for a little bit of that'll do the same thing as the razor wire will.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it might be a little bit less work to actually get over it, but it does make it a little bit of a harder target.
Sorry to cut you off. And if someone's trying to get over it, you can hear it breaking. It's so like late night side type of thing. If somebody's trying to put something on top of it to climb over it, the glass gonna break, which is gonna definitely trigger an alarm. Because if you hear glass breaking somewhere, something's going on, and so you'll be able to react a little bit faster if you're paying attention to it. So that's what's happening outside. That's what happens outside the U.S. below the equator, and it's very common for those that may not be aware.
Yeah,
anyway.
And so like the home and the pets in the house, all these things are looked at completely differently in other countries. So yeah, that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought up those pictures because sometimes we talk about this stuff and we've seen it, but other people might not exactly know what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's go back to the chat a little bit and see what any more thoughts. And as always, give us a call or highlight at Silver Doctors in the chat, and we'll definitely try to address the question or give you our thoughts. And so someone said the German Shepherd was very useful. Certain types of dog. Okay, so Mr. Half Dollar. So let's talk a little bit about metals prices. What do you got for us on the prices of metal? Where are we at right now?
Well, gold and silver have been hit hard for the last 2 days. In fact, silver, right? Oftentimes the cartel likes to go in there and smash silver prices on Tuesday, gold prices as well, because there's a COT reporting reshuffling that oftentimes takes place. So there's an incentive to smash on Tuesday for whatever reason that they're looking for. And yesterday, especially in silver, that was the biggest, and this was as soon as the COMEX opened at 8:30, right? So as soon as the COMEX opens at 8:30, the sell-off began. And yesterday was like the largest volume sell-off over that first half hour than we've seen in several weeks now. But silver completely recovered those, right? And today, it was an hour before. They didn't even wait until COMEX opened. They were still on the Globex, and they hit especially silver pretty hard. They got silver down to $17.37, but silver's already recovered, right? And there's no real news. There's no real why are the metals dropping in price? Like the only release of that came out on the economics calendar was, for example, at 7, right? Mortgage applications came out, but they dropped over the week. So it's not like that shows, less people are applying for mortgages. That's not healthy. That's unhealthy for the economy in general. Yeah. So, that's not a reason to smash. People will say, well, because yield on the 10-year spiked here. So, they'll use that as cover. The dollar is basically the same where it's been, between 97 and 98. So it's not like the dollar is surging because the dollar's fallen quite heavily over the past couple of months, as a matter of fact. So, they've been going hard and heavy for the past 2 days. Oh, and that's the other thing, right, about gold, COMEX gold. Open interest is at an all-time high, right? So when they were hitting gold over the past couple of days, they're still at an all-time high and barely able to shave any of that open interest off. I think Harvey Organ reported only 40 or 45 contracts of open interest fell as a result of those smashes. Because remember, as the price is dropping, right, as the cartel is selling into the market, they're selling in new contracts into the market, and then they're buying back those old contracts that they sold at a lower price, which means that they're making the profit in the process of it. No. So, the point is they're just feeding and feeding and feeding, and it's not doing enough, and the metals are not staying down in price for long. So let me check out my chart. So silver got down to 1736 this morning before at just after 7 in the morning, but we're already back up to 1760 again. So, we're showing incredible resilience in gold and silver right now.
Now, watch this. One question that I'm often asked is whether or not I think right now is a great time to really go heavier into silver in particular, or should they just hold off for one more big slam down? And so if you were given that question, what is your opinion on that particular question?
Well, you brought up an awesome point Monday with the Kashkari thing that says we're not prepared to do anything until inflation's well over 2% or something like that. The Fed is determined to generate inflation, right? The Fed is in QE, whether they're calling that or not. The Fed is whipping up money, they're printing money, they're feeding it into the markets, right? Inflation is here, inflation is coming, money printing is here, and it's only going to get worse from here. So for silver to be going down in price, people understand that these metals are manipulated now. People understand that there's an active price suppression policy. So, and they know that the central banks are heck bent on getting prices to go up. So what I think is going on is on these minor smashes down to 17.37. I mean, come on, are they really going to knock silver under $17 in late 2019 with all this money printing, this $250 billion that the Feds increased their balance sheet over the past month with? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. So I think the time is right now. I don't think it's trying to wait for something under 17 because I really don't think it's going there. Silver got hit to 17.37 this morning, and it immediately is right back up. So, these it's hard to get that timing right. Yeah. But I do wanted to talk about gold and silver here for a little bit because I got some interesting things to talk about.
Okay. What you got for us?
Okay. I'm going to put this link up right here. This right here is a link. I'm going to actually put this in the chat around. Yeah, you can use it off of the chat too.
Send it to me, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me send it to you. Let me see here. Okay. So what I wanted to show you, these are some really cool coins, and I actually have these two coins in my possession right here. I got these. These things are beautiful. These things, Mike, these coins, I want to tell you, I want to show you about these coins because I want to talk about some of the things people should think about when they're buying gold and silver. This is important. I'm not trying to pump a product. I'm trying to talk about decisions that people should make. But these coins are so fresh, Mike. They don't even have the actual pictures of the coins. They have the designs on the SD Bullion website. This is called the giraffe, and it's I don't know if it's the World's Wildlife. I thought it was Wildlife World. It's World's Wildlife Series. This is called the giraffe. This is 1 ounce. This is 4.9 fine gold. This is a beautiful coin, and it comes encapsulated like this. But what I want to talk about are some of the things that people should be thinking about when they're making the decision to buy gold or silver coins. This is the silver one, and I got a little bit of smudges on it because I'm having trouble like putting these things down because they're that beautiful. I like looking at them. It doesn't really show this on the website because, like I said, these things are fresh off of the presses. They still have the they still have like the illustrative designs, not the actual photos of the coins on the website at SD Bullion. So my point is, these are brand new. This gold coin right here, this is point number 1. Okay, point number 1 is, and I got some points here. I want to make sure I hit all my points.
So I got the website up, and I'm thumbing through it as you speak. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So point number 1, there's only 1,000. I've got one of these 1,000 coins. There's only 1,000 of these made. These are actual coins, right? This is not around. This is an actual coin. Check this out. You see where that's from? That's from the Republic of Congo, right there. Right? So this is an actual coin. Guess who's not on the back, Mike? Guess who's not on the back? The Queen's not on the back. I really like it. And why is that? Because this design is going to change every single year, right? So that's another reason people can think about when they're buying gold and silver, right? Series. This is the first in a series. SD Bullion is the only company that has this gold coin in North America, the giraffe, the World's Wildlife Series from the Republic of Congo. Oh, and it's made by Geiger Edelmetall, right? I don't even know how to say the second word, but it's German mint, right? So think about this. I mean, there's just so much awesome interest with gold and silver that African countries working in conjunction with German mints coming up with an agreement with SD Bullion to produce actual coins. This has a face value on it, Mike.
That's it. 100 francs. Yeah, I got the picture.
Isn't this cool? This is 4.9 fine. This is a really, really nice coin. And it comes in the capsule like that. But my point is, right, what are some of the things people should think about when they're buying gold and silver? Here's the silver. With that gold coin, there's only 1,000 of those that are minted. What does that mean? That means that is rare, right? That's a rare type of coin. That's what you call semi-numismatic, right? Because it's not like a graded and slabbed coin, but you still have 2 possibilities for appreciation. You have the appreciation for gold, and you have the appreciation for the rareness of that coin in and of itself. I did the math, Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm making it simple. So let's say it's $1,600 for that coin. At 1,000, this means that someone could drop $1.6 million and buy up every single one of these gold coins. But wait till we get to silver. It gets even crazier than that. So, my point is when people are buying gold and silver coins, one of the things that they can be thinking about is, will I have a chance for the premium to appreciate in addition to the price of the metal in and of itself? Then that's like a win-win. That's like a double win right there.
Yeah.
The other thing about buying a coin is, is there appeal to a broad range of people? Like, think about this, Mike. Who would this coin appeal to right here? When I'm thinking about these coins, I'm thinking this coin has appeal to people who are into wildlife, right? It's a wildlife series. speaking of series, this coin has appealed to people who are into collecting series. You've heard of the Perth Mint Lunar series, right, Mike?
Yeah.
This is based on, the lunar calendar, the Chinese lunar calendar, and those are series. So this is the first in a series, right? There's only 1,000 of those gold coins. One of the things people look for is, if you buy a complete set of American Silver Eagles, that costs more than an incomplete set, right? Because people want that complete series. So this is brand new, right? And it's not something that's going to be around. And the mintage is limited. These silver coins right here, these silver ones are limited to 30,000. Only 30,000 of these. You know how much money could buy up every single one of these coins, Mike?
So let me see, 30,000 times $23, give or take. I don't know the math. Give me your math.
Less than 750 grand, Mike. We're not talking about like any money at all, right? Someone with deep pockets could buy every single one of these coins as well too. But it's really cool because I don't know if they're calling this proof, right? It's not really proof, but it's definitely a mirrored finish. And I got some, finger prints all over it because I've been playing with these things all morning because I really can't put them down. Yeah. They're that beautiful. But they're really nice. They have that really deep mirrored finish. But my points were, you've got the broad appeal, right? People who are into wildlife, people who are into Africa, people who are into low mintages, people who are into collecting series of coins, right? So that's one. You've got beyond what like Perth Mint and the Royal Canadian Mint and all them do, you've got diversity in the coin in and of itself, because one side of that coin isn't always reserved for the queen, right? You've got limited mintage, you got the appreciation. So there's just a number of things to think about when buying a gold or silver coin. These right here are definitely something to think about. Those are like those Tree of Life coins that were also exclusively at SD Bullion, and those things sold out. And because you never really know, right? You don't know like how the appeal is going to be, right? Because like for me, I'm not into collecting a lot of the coins with the queen on the back, but I do own a lot of the dogs, the Year of the Dog for 2018 from the Perth Mint. Why is that? Because I like dogs. I really like dogs. It's got a really cool German Shepherd on it, right? It's got a German Shepherd with the German Shepherd puppy on it. I mean, it's a beautiful coin, right? So this is the same thing, right? This has awesome appeal. It is a beautiful coin. It's the first in a series. Next year, the design is going to change, and it doesn't even, the premium isn't even that expensive. It's what I don't know if they're calling it a semi-numismatic on the SD Bullion website, but to me, this would be what you would call a semi-numismatic coin, or a coin that has the potential to increase in numismatic value in addition to the value of the silver. It's kind of like the American Silver Eagle from 1996, right? That's the lowest mintage of American Silver Eagles, and that's the one that goes for the most, right? So my point is, just buying. Oh, and that's the other thing. This is actually a government coin, right? This is not around. This is actually a coin. It's got a face value on it. So, my point there is that, you can buy something that still has a decent premium on it, that has the potential for that premium to rise in addition to the metal. I'm rambling on way more than I should.
No. I'm listening and learning, so I appreciate it. So good stuff, my friend. So let's get to the chat. Anybody in the chat got any questions or thoughts? What is that? Maybe you guys can move the mic away from the PC fan. Oh no, so that's the furnace. So I apologize for that. It's getting cold outside.
Well, we got some good comments on the coin. We got Cuba Void says he thinks that the animal coins are lame. I don't know. I think that they're awesome. In the African coins, like the Somalian one has. I don't have that coin on me. I mean, I own the coin, but I don't have it right now. It would take me a while to get it. But to dig it out. But the Somali one does some really cool elephants, right? I think it's Chad, right? Chad did a really cool Death Stalker Scorpion coin. I got some of those. So I actually like the animal themed coins. It comes down to what you like as your personal preference, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Good point. And so watch this. So as a recent comment or question from Fritz Bender, it says, Do you think you should get together with other podcasters and push the importance of buying physical to boost the metals? Tell people to avoid the paper crap. Is physical not the key? ?
Yes, physical is the key, right? And that's a great point. And yes, I agree with everything Fritz just said, because, right, why does the suppression go on? It goes on because, they can still feed some gold and some silver into the market, right? That's the only reason that it can go on, because the moment that the cartel is unwilling, unable to send actual gold or silver into the market, then that's when the game is over. But, that's one of the things I brought up in my recent interview with Keith Weiner, right? There's been this explosion in paper products from these ETNs that don't even offer, it's not even like the GLD where it supposedly has gold in there. It's just exposure to price on an exchange traded note. Or the Shanghai futures gold contracts on the COMEX, right? I mean, there's this proliferation in paper, and all that does is keep enabling the system, right? It's opting out of that system. If I buy this 1 ounce gold coin, right, and if I put it in my pocket, guess what? This is doing several things. This is taking it out of the banking system, right? So guess what? I'm not being bailed in, right? I have my savings right here. It's not earning negative interest. It can't be bailed in. And it's a way that I can opt out of the system. So yes, I think that, but what are you going to do? Because people are motivated by the fact that they think they can make money in the stock market. And, unless you're on the inside and are corrupt on the inside, eventually it'll catch up to you, right?
That's a good point. Now, watch this. One thing I want to, because someone's addressed or put out a question several times, and it's about apparently China's gold-backed cryptocurrency, of which I'm not familiar with the gold-backed portion outside of their normal crypto that they're trying to introduce, which is basically just a digital form of their current currency. But yet they're just all they're trying to do is remove the physical paper portion out of the equation and give it solely a digital title. That's all it is. It's not crypto based because it's centralized through their banking sector. So that's another issue. But I actually want to pull up an article here that I just typed up just to see what was being mentioned about it. And so here it's from Cointelegraph. It says Peter Schiff, China's gold-backed crypto will be bearish for Bitcoin. And so Mr. Schiff is not necessarily a crypto guy. He actually talks about Bitcoin very, very hard. And so in regards to the whole gold crypto linkage, do you think there will be a central bank, i.e. China, that will eventually announce some type of currency of that nature to derail the dollar? What are your thoughts, Mr. Half Dollar?
I don't know who exactly started this, but I know there's been some back and forth in the alternative media. For example, I think Max Kaiser said something about this, and then like Jason Burak from Wall Street, from Main Street, made a video response to it. So there has been some stuff going on. I don't think China's coming to the rescue of the United States. I think China's going to look in its own interest, and whether they actively do something to kill off the dollar once and for all, or whether it just dies off on its own death. I think that China would rather do that, where they just, turn their back on the dollar and just walk away, as opposed to actively killing the dollar. I think that we will be going back to gold and silver, and ultimately it will be digital, right? The question is, do the governments have the integrity to have that actually backed by the gold and silver? The current politicians and all the governments all around the globe, no way, that's not happening, because every single government is on a fiat currency standard. Why are they going to change that, right? They have no incentive to change that. So, we will be going back to gold and silver. It will be digitized in some form. It will also be used as daily purchases with actual metal, right? When people go out and buy things. But, the question is, who's going to be the ones that lead up the actual push for real gold-backed and silver-backed crypto? Because if it's who we have in Washington, or if the Fed has anything to do with it, that's not good news at all for gold or silver.
Right. So if the current structure stays in place through this so-called controlled collapse and reboot of whatever is going to become, whatever's coming next, if they're a part of it, meaning the same people that's running things now are in it, it's going to be more of the same, but solely digital. So I can see them attempting to give some type of backing to something temporarily to instill confidence again. But like always, governments can't expand if they're restricted by some type of commodity or asset that they have to have physically in their possession in order to issue and borrow. So eventually they're going to have to come off that standard as well. So whatever agreement's going to come out is going to be broken again.
And it's like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, I can't remember exactly when we were talking about, but one of the things that I truly feel, right, is that you cannot make America great again until you drain the swamp, right? So that goes off of what you're saying. Under the current system, if we go through this fiat currency crisis that we know we're going to go through, which happens historically on a regular basis, which we're overdue for right now, right? If it's the current people and the current swamp, the current deep state that's involved, then it's not going to be a good outcome for the people.
Right, right. And so Gun Fan says, I listened to an interview about the collapse and how the IMF will consolidate all the currencies, even the dollar, and will offer a new global digital currency. What's your input? So I'll share my thoughts briefly. So I came across an article, I think it was yesterday, about the ECB and central banks in our region now scrambling to try to come up with a digital currency to issue out as the euro fails. But here's the thing: what they're doing is basically redefining what they're currently doing now. They're just removing paper. So everything that's going to be labeled digital currency, cryptocurrency from a government or from a centralized source will just be in a way to remove cash out of your possession in exchange for paper. So it's not really anything different. They're just trying to do away with the old because cash is becoming a problem for them because of the fact that Ken Rogoff type people say that when you hold cash, you're hoarding it, and that's not good for the system. So they got to remove it from your possession. So any type of spill or lingo about digital currency is simply just removing of paper because most of the currencies are already solely digital anyway. So that's how the banking system operates. So nothing new. It's nothing new at all. They're just redefining and shuffling words around.
Yeah. So when that happens, the only way you can get out of the system is by having gold and silver in your possession, right? Well, I mean, it's not the only way, but it's certainly the easiest and it's the most effective way because this is money. There's other things that you can do to get out of the system as well, as far as the banking system goes. But, just having gold and silver in your possession, that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, good point. And so here's another question. It says, Mike and Paul, love you guys. Can you consider doing a Friday show as well? Also.
Yeah, we could also see about maybe doing like an evening or something someday. That would be interesting too for the people who can't tune in during like the lunch hour or something like that. Mike, I don't know if you know this, but our videos keep getting demonetized, right? So it's like, here's my question to you. We have less than 35,000 subscribers, Mike. We must be on to something, right? Because the establishment is going after us. I even reviewed our last video, right? Yeah. And I watched the whole thing twice and I submitted a manual review and it's still demonetized. I'm like, well, why? Why? Because they don't want people understanding about real money. They don't want people understanding just how messed up things are. We talked about on Monday how everybody's talking about there's so much optimism again. So that's just another reason that supports that narrative for why they've tried to hit gold and silver over the last 2 days. What's that here?
Can you see it?
Oh, we have to talk in code.
That's going to be our new way of talking. So we have to write it. So we're going to turn it into we're going to have to write it. So the keywords aren't flagged.
Yeah. We got to just figure out what those keywords are.
Exactly. And they probably change every day. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, man, it's been good. So we're approaching about a 50-minute piece for this afternoon. How about we get ready to dial back? And got an interview coming, a good one. I'm going to put it up tonight. So definitely, you guys, stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good one. What else? Other than that, man, it's a lot more news and more things to talk about like always. So we're going to probably shuffle the schedule a little bit and try to bring some more content, greater content, and just find new ways of reaching into more people. That's what it boils down to. Bringing some more people into the community that have no clue about what's going on so they can get caught up to speed and get their weight up as well. So that being the case, Mr. Havdalah, any last thoughts you want to leave us with before we get ready to dial back?
Yeah, just, I don't think that there's a whole lot of downside, especially when it comes to silver. They might try and push it under 17 here, but I mean, I really don't think every time they've been hitting gold and silver, especially with silver, it just keeps popping right back up. The gold to silver ratio is in a clear downtrend, right? There's a clear downtrend established. And I talk about that, in my writings quite regularly. So people who are holding off right now, I mean, I don't know. One of the themes this morning is it time to back up the truck? And it's already missed that opportunity, right? So like just in a matter of hours, the price is up from 1737 just call it 1730 to 1760. That's 30 cents. That's like, sometimes premiums on like generic rounds or something like that on a super sale, right? I don't know what the premiums right now are on generic rounds, probably like 79 cents or 89 cents or something like that. But, when there was less demand last year, yeah, you could get those kind of premiums all day long. Yeah. So people who are just holding out, right, for that 50 cents or that 30 cents, I don't know, and then the other thing is, if you're holding out for that, you should also be prepared to hold it longer than you might need to on the
Yeah.
other side of that, right? So it kind of works in both ways.
Yeah. So somebody, Maria said, can you do a super chat with Silver? And I said that would be nice if it was possible.
Yeah.
Oh man, but hey, everybody, it's been great hanging out this afternoon. Yes, definitely. As always, if you guys enjoy the back and forth and the participation, don't be afraid to donate a thumbs up. Hit the button right beneath here. And as always, social media wise, beneath this video, if you're on Twitter, definitely connect with us on Twitter. We'd love to continue the party on afterwards. I do a lot of posting there as well. So, other than that, everybody be blessed, be safe, and we will see you guys later. Enjoy your day.